Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronin Davis. I'm here at the Council of State Governments Justice Center. We're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar this afternoon. A few logistics issues before we get started. On your screen at the bottom right, there is a Q&A box. If you have any questions throughout the course of the webinar, please type it into that section there, and we'll be sure to address your questions at the end of the webinar. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining us. This webinar, we're going to be talking about the Second Chance Act Comprehensive Community-Based Adult Reentry Program Utilizing Mentors. Going forward though, we'll call it the SCA Adult Mentoring Program. My name, as I mentioned before, is Ronin Davis. I oversee the Community Initiatives portfolio here at the Council of State Governments Justice Center. Community initiatives include the Adult Mentoring Grantees, the Young Fathers Mentoring Grantees, Children of Incarcerated Parents, and the Technology-Based Career Training Mentees. Today I'm joined by Andre Bethia, a Policy Advisor at the Bureau of Justice Assistance. And together we're going to be talking to you about the awards that you received for FY15. So here's the agenda for today's webinar. We're going to begin with introductions. Afterward, we'll give an overview of the Adult Mentoring Grant Program and BJA's expectations and goals for this program. We'll then discuss the different types of support available to you as a Second Chance Act grantee, including technical assistance from the National Reentry Resource Center, which is run out of the Council of State Governments, and the Planning and Implementation Guide, a tool that we will utilize as part of that technical assistance. We'll then have some time at the end of the webinar for questions. I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Andre at BJA to tell you a little bit about the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Thank you, Ronin. The Bureau of Justice Assistance, BJA, has supported reentry programs through the Second Chance Act across the country. BJA provides leadership and guidance for criminal justice programs and the development of criminal justice policy.
Thank you, Andre. So the Justice Center is a national nonprofit organization that serves policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels from all branches of government. Staff provides practical, nonpartisan advice and evidence-based, consensus-driven strategies to increase public safety and strengthen communities. You can find our website right there on the slide, csgjusticecenter.org. The technical assistance for your Second Chance Act grant is provided by the National Reentry Resource Center, which is funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance and managed by us here at the Justice Center. The NRRC provides support to SCA grantees and the broader field. We are constantly adding new content and resources to our website, and we send out a monthly newsletter that provides information about the latest research, funding opportunities, distance learning events, and other news about reentry. We encourage everyone who hasn't done so already to sign up for the newsletter. You can please visit the link on your screen after today's webinar. You'll see on the slide there that we talk about the Second Chance Act that was authorized in April 2008, and the NRRC was launched by the Council of State Governments in October 2009. The NRRC staff have worked with nearly 600 Second Chance Act grantees, including 40 state corrections agencies. What's unique about your programs is that this particular grant is awarded to nonprofits, whereas most Second Chance Act grants are awarded to local and state governments. You'll see on this slide more information about the Council of State Governments website, where you can subscribe to that newsletter that I mentioned before. And also please check out our Twitter page. We try to use social media as well to get more information out there to the field. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the grant program itself. First off, congratulations to everyone on the phone. We're very excited that we have such a geographically diverse cohort of grantees. Each of your programs are offering unique approaches to the fields of reentry and mentoring. You'll see on the screen we have 6 agencies that were awarded the Adult Mentoring Grant for fiscal year 15. Now I'll turn it back over to Andre to talk about some of the expectations and goals of this program.
Thanks, Ronin. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to each grantee. You were selected out of a large pool of applicants. Therefore, we look forward to you doing the great work as providers for reentry. Within the context of this initiative, reentry is not envisioned to be a specific program, but rather a process that begins when the individual is first incarcerated, pre-release, and ends with his or her successful community reintegration, post-release. This is the second year that the Comprehensive Adult Mentoring Grant Program has been available. It expanded on previous reentry mentoring grants by extending the award period to 3 years. The target population for this grant program must be a specific subset of the population of 18 and older individuals convicted as adults and incarcerated at the time of their enrollment in the program. Program participants must be medium to high risk to reoffend as evidenced by an empirically validated risk assessment instrument. Programs should include pre-release screening, assessment, and transition planning services, including the identification of eligibility of benefits and benefits enrollment. Pre-release mentoring should also be available, though this may be difficult depending on your partnering facilities. If this is the case, consider innovative approaches to pre-release mentoring, including group mentoring and voice or video calling. It is important to build a bridge between services and staff, pre-release, and services, staff, and mentors post-release. In conjunction with the core mentoring component, evidence-based programs and services should be offered that are designed to increase the likelihood of successful reentry. Programs are required to track participant outcomes for at least 12 months following release. This includes recidivism data. Outcome data is key to guiding strategic continuous quality improvement for your program. This year, the Adult Mentoring Program listed as a priority consideration that programs provide for an independent evaluation of the project. Now we will go over the different types of support available to grantees. There are 3 types of support available to adult mentoring grantees. Your BJA policy advisor is available to you to assist with any grant management needs. This includes budget approval and modifications and proposed changes in the scope of your program. The PMT, which is used to report on data from your program, is administered by CSR. Technical issues regarding the tool can be brought to them. Then there is technical assistance from the Council of State Government's National Reentry Resource Center. TA providers offer a wide variety of support related to content, implementation, and facilitation. Each grantee will be assigned a TA provider from the NRRC to support you as you plan and implement your reentry mentoring program. Now I will pass the presentation on to Roneen, who will talk about the grantee support the NRRC can provide and the planning and implementation guide.
Thank you, Andre. So you'll see on this next slide everyone's TA provider as assigned by the NRRC, as Andre mentioned previously. Each grantee is assigned a TA provider to provide them with technical assistance, as well as a state policy advisor from the Bureau of Justice Assistance. In the case of mentoring grantees, all mentoring grantees work with Tracy Willis at the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and you'll find the contact information for your TA provider and Ms. Willis on this slide. As you saw, each Second Chance Act grantee is assigned an NRRC technical assistance provider or TA provider that provides support in a number of ways. For instance, as you complete the required planning and implementation guide that I will describe more in depth later, you will find that your TA provider is available to field any of your questions, then review and provide constructive feedback on your planning and implementation guide. Also, your TA provider aims to work with you to identify and execute a tailored technical assistance plan that takes into account the importance of tracking progress with grant deliverables and collaboratively finding solutions to any barriers you might face along the way. Finally, the NRRC's mission is to advance the reentry field through knowledge transfer and dissemination, and to promote evidence-based practices. As such, we will ask your permission to share any successes with reducing recidivism or creative solutions to the challenge of bridging the gap between theory and practice with entities such as stakeholders, your peers, who also have grant programs, and possibly through products the Justice Center aims to publish in the future. The NRRC strives to provide ongoing support that is responsive to each grantee's unique needs. This often includes assisting with data collection and analysis, training on what works to reduce recidivism and improve other outcomes, helping translate research into proposed policy and practice improvements, supporting the development of implementation and/or sustainability plans, as well as connecting you to other grantees doing similar work. Here are 6 of the primary methods by which the NRRC delivers TA. Regular monthly phone calls between program staff and the TA provider. These calls should include any staff overseeing day-to-day operations of the program. At times, it may be useful to bring in line staff and partner agencies depending on the focus of each call. Peer learning opportunities may include webinars tailored to a specific set of programs that will allow you and your peers to troubleshoot shared challenges and discuss strategies. This may include TA providers putting you in touch with other grantees or organizations that have worked through similar issues. The NRRC hosts a number of webinars on a variety of topics, as well as promotes webinars from across the fields of reentry, mentoring, behavioral health, and other topics. The NRRC contracts with a number of consultants who can provide expert trainings. Who can provide expert trainings. The NRRC has a number of resources available on the website, ranging from reentry, mentoring, evidence-based practices, behavioral health, housing, employment, and other needs that might need to be addressed in your program. The last item listed there is site visits. Site visits from your NRRC TA provider are not audits. They are not meant to review how well the program is doing in terms of reaching your grant expectations. Site visits are there to help you improve your program, address any implementation challenges you have, and provide you with additional support. Site visits might include trainings with consultants, assessments of needs and challenges, or addressing any other issues that might come up. Another important opportunity the NRRC and BJA provide to grantees is the Second Chance Act conference held in Washington, D.C. Each grantee should have budgeted to send a total of 3 staff to the conference, which will take place December 16th through the 18th. The conference will offer a wide variety of workshops and plenaries to support your work. Everyone at this point should have received an invitation to the SBA conference. If you haven't done so, please go to our website, csgjusticecenter.com. You'll see on the first page of the website the image on the slide where you can register for the conference. We strongly encourage you to include one person from your research partner team in the 3 people you send to the conference. Among other relevant workshops, there will be one tailored to mentoring grantees discussing evaluation and research as we work to bolster the evidence in the field of adult reentry mentoring. As mentioned previously, there will be a planning and implementation guide designed to assist you and your TA provider. The guide will be made available to grantees prior to the conference. The guide is designed to help identify implementation goals and measurement objectives. You can use the guide to develop a comprehensive program that is oriented around evidence-based practices. The guide can also be used to communicate progress with key stakeholders as you go through your program. The guide is also used to evaluate the program and think about sustainability. While sustainability plans are an ongoing process, the guide can help to develop the beginnings of that plan as you move forward. Using the Planning and Implementation Guide, your NRRC TA provider will develop a comprehensive TA plan to support you throughout the life of your grant. The guide also helps you to comply with BJA's expectations for the grants. The P&I Guide provides information about grant requirements and best practices. Each section of the guide includes exercises for grantees to self-assess how program activities align with evidence-based practices and other recommendations, as well as identify areas of success and challenges. Though it is a self-assessment, if you have any questions as you're working through the guide, your TA provider will be available to you to provide assistance in determining how to fill out the guide, if you're not sure of how to answer particular questions, and to work with you to determine where there might be challenges that need to be focused on during the TA process. Here is a list of each of the sections in the Planning and Implementation Guide. The beginning of the guide is getting started and setting goals. Section 2 is around defining or refining your target population. As many of you know, after submitting a proposal for your grant, many things might change, even if it's a slight change, between submitting the proposal and getting the award. The Planning and Implementation Guide is designed to help address any of those changes and how that might affect the overall program. Section 3 is around service provision and support. Section 4, mentoring services. Section 5 is around data collection, performance measurement, and program evaluation. In that section, it will cover some basic information around what kind of data that should be collected and how to use that data for continuous quality improvement. It will also talk about the program evaluation component of your program, and this is a good opportunity to talk to your TA provider about what the partnership with your researcher is going to look like, as we'll also be covering that more at the SCA conference. And the last section is around sustainability. All right. So we'll go ahead now and open up the chat box. If anyone has any questions, please check out the bottom right-hand corner of your screen to enter any questions that you might have about the programs, the grant programs, expectations or goals, the Planning and Implementation Guide, or TA process. All right, so a few questions that have been coming in around a couple general themes. There were some questions about the partnership with the correctional agency. As you know, a close formal partnership with a correctional agency is required for the program, including documentation for the that actually documents what the partnership looks like, what the roles of the correctional agency and the facilities are, as well as the role of the lead agency. Something that your TA providers can help you out with is reviewing those documents to help determine what everyone's role is and to try and navigate the relationship with that correctional partner. If it's a new relationship, there might be some challenges in getting into the facility, having volunteers enter the facility, although some nonprofits already have very well-established relationships with their correctional partners. We see there's a question about the reporting site, which, if I'm getting this correct, I believe you're asking about reporting data and information from your program. If so, let me turn that question actually over to Andre. Andre, do you know if they have access to that yet?
Ronin, to be honest with you, to answer that question, no. There's no access yet because your reporting cycle has not drawn close to an end. However, by the time that it's necessary for you to record your initial set of data, then you will have access to the reporting site.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Some other questions coming in just around the different services that are provided in conjunction with mentoring. Wraparound services could include housing, employment, mental health or substance use, basically needs that are identified using the risk assessments that are provided to you by your correctional partner or other assessments and screening tools that you might use in your own agency. These are services that you could provide post-release to assist with your population as they're transitioning back to the community. Let's see if there's any other questions that are coming in. Another question that came in regarding the conference was about which workshops are going to be available to mentoring grantees, or if there's certain workshops that you should be attending. The nice thing about the Second Chance Act conference is there's actually a lot of variety in the topics and the workshops that are available to everyone. One thing I would like to point out is that mentoring workshop on evaluation and research of partnerships. It's going to be tailored to mentoring grantees, and we strongly encourage staff members to attend with a researcher partner. There will be other workshops that are specifically tailored to mentoring grantees or subsets of mentoring grantees, such as fatherhood-specific workshops or workshops that deal with specific services, such as housing or employment. All right, we got another question. Says the SGA says no gift cards. However, would gas cards or bus passes count in that? So they're asking if they can use the grant funds for gas cards or bus passes. I'll go ahead and turn that question over to Andre as well from BJA.
Thanks, Roneen. So the SGA does say no gift cards. However, if you are referring to the participant or the client at this point having access to a necessary bus pass to reach the program, then it should be noted that that should have been set aside inside of the budget. Whatever you do with BJA funds should be indicated and spelled out in your budget. If there's something that needs to change, then you need to submit a budget modification. And for further questions, you should seek your BJA advisor, Tracy Willis.
All right, thank you, Andre. Also, as you're going through your grant, if questions like that one come up, or how you can use your funds, or grant management questions, definitely refer them over to Tracy Willis at BJA. If you're not sure if the question should go to Tracy or to your NRRC TA provider, feel free to email your TA provider and they can direct you to the appropriate person, whether that's at BJA or elsewhere. All right, let's just give it one more minute to see if there's any other questions that people have. All right, in terms of next steps, just so everyone is aware, your NRRC TA providers should be reaching out to you if they haven't done so already to set up an introductory call prior to the conference. At the conference, we will also have 2 workshop periods that are designed specifically for the grant tracks, where you'll be able to meet with your TA providers as a group, and you'll also be able to interact with mentoring grantees from previous fiscal years. After the introductory call, your TA providers will talk to you about moving forward with the planning and implementation guide and your TA plan. So if there are no other questions, you can see my contact information there, as well as Andre's at BJA. And I encourage you, as I mentioned before, to check out the website csgjusticecenter.org. That's where you'll find the newsletter if you haven't already subscribed for that, where we send out updates about webinars, the conference, and other events and resources, as well as just general information regarding reentry, all present on that website. All right, this concludes the webinar. Before you exit the webinar, I'd like to ask you to complete a brief survey. There's a link to this survey in the reminder email that you received, so you may have already done so. If not, please click on the link in the chat box below. The survey asks some very basic questions that will allow us to better familiarize ourselves with your program. The survey is short, and it shouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to fill out. If you've not filled it out yet, please do so after the webinar. We will email a link to the recording of this presentation, as well as a link to a PDF of the PowerPoint slides used in the presentation in the coming weeks. These links will also be made available on the National Reentry Resource Center's website, which can be accessed at csgjusticecenter.org/NRRC. I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, as I mentioned before, and thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting you at the conference and continuing to work with you throughout your program. Have a great rest of your day.